Well, Marvel Studios has just concluded their 2026 San Diego Comic-Con Hall H presentation, and there are definitely some things that we need to talk about here tonight. I'm going to really quickly run through the things that were talked about and go in depth on two things in particular that I really enjoyed, and a few things that, well, obviously I was not in the room to witness, but thanks to social media, we know what went on in the moments that us that were not in the room did not get to see, but are aware of the things that took place. So, all in all, it seemed like this presentation was pretty well. It flowed very nicely. It was very quick. The presentation was scheduled for an hour. They did get going about 20 to 30 minutes late because of a previous presentation. Now, it's unclear whether or not they cut the presentation short. I have to assume they did not. I would be genuinely shocked if that was something that they did. But it seemed like the presentation ran about 40 to 45 minutes long. So even coming under that hour that they were expecting to do, they did pack in quite a bit, though, into that 40 to 45 minute window. And we're going to go ahead and jump into it here. First off, based again off of social media, thank you to everybody that was in the room and provided us the information that we have. I'm pulling from multiple sources, but thank you to everybody who reported on the up to the minute events that were going on in Hall H. Feige first comes on stage to talk about the fact that they're not going to highlight any of their TV shows. Now, the only one that we are aware of that is coming in the immediate future between now and the next San Diego Comic-Con, let alone D23, which is taking place, if I'm remembering correctly, next month, which I assume is where they're going to talk about a lot of their upcoming TV plans. Feige comes on stage to say that they're not going to talk about anything TV related, and they jump right into it. They first show footage of the Avengers Endgame re-release, which, to my knowledge, and again, as much as social media has indicated, there was no new footage, which makes sense to me because if you're really branding this as a re-release that is highlighting an extra 7 to 8 minutes of footage tacked onto the film that will lead directly into Doomsday, you don't want to reveal your hand too soon. You don't want to reveal that footage too soon, because if that is your marketing ploy for this re-release, hide it. Hide it as much as you can until that film comes out. Honestly, when they release a trailer for the re-release online, I am fully hoping that they don't show any of the new footage, because that needs to be reserved for the people that do go out to the theater to watch this re-release. I will be one of them. And I'm eagerly awaiting to see what this new footage is and to see how well it does, in fact, lead into Avengers Doomsday. So they show some footage of that re-release. Again, nothing that we haven't seen before in 2019's Avengers Endgame. They did give it a release date. They said it will release on September 25th, 2026. I should have looked up what is also coming out that week. I am anticipating not too much, just because it's a weird time post Labor Day before Halloween where we get a lot of horror films. That's not to say that something isn't coming out. In fact, let's do a bit of research here, and I'm not going to cut this video. Let's look at what comes out on September 25th to see what competition Avengers Endgame, the re-release, has. Again, I'm excited to see this one once again in theaters. It's been, well, since its release. I actually only saw the film one time in theaters, and it was because it was with a sold-out crowd of a few hundred people. I'm talking close to 500 people. It was a sold-out crowd. It was my favorite movie-going experience of all time, I think. Now, that's completely negating what I thought of the actual film, which I have mixed feelings about Endgame on. But that experience was something that I will never forget. It was incredible watching that with a packed crowd. I just knew that there was no way to replicate that experience. And so I really never did go watch it again. But I will with this re-release so that I can see that new footage that leads into Doomsday. Now, as for what comes out that week, according to IMDb, we have the Brad Pitt film Heart of the Beast, directed by David Ayer, We also have Primetime starring Robert Pattinson. We have Forgotten Island. Wow, so there actually is some competition here, I think. Now, again, we're talking about a 7-year-old film versus films that are brand new. Forgotten Island, I cannot recommend that one enough. I did see it at CinemaCon back in April. I would prioritize that one over this Avengers Endgame re-release. That film is incredible. I hope that it finds the audience it needs to succeed. I think it is a brilliant, beautiful film. Anyway, Avengers Endgame coming out September 25th. Cannot wait to go watch that one again. Now, the first big piece of news. Let me preface this with the fact that I have not read a single comic about this character. I have not even seen the 2 films that this character is in. To mine, it's 2, I think. You'll know when I say what it is. And if you're watching this video, you already know what it is. I'm talking about Ghost Rider. Ryan Gosling is going to play the character in a film that will release in 2028, directed by Sean Levy. Now, let me backtrack here a bit. Again, I do not know anything about Ghost Rider. Only things I have kind of heard through osmosis in the pop culture bubble that I often live in with social media. So I don't know how this character should be adapted. What I have heard, and what does make me excited, is for years, people on social media have said how incredible Ryan Gosling would be as Ghost Rider. And he himself, if I'm correct here, has indicated in interviews, again, I could be wrong, don't quote me on this, but I believe he has said that he would like to play the character. Well, we have it now. Ryan Gosling will be playing Ghost Rider again in a film that comes out in 2028, directed by Sean Levy. Now, I am a big fan of Real Steel. I will defend that movie forever. I do think Sean Levy has a few missteps in his filmography, but what director doesn't, if I'm being honest? Everybody has that misstep in their career, in their filmography. I really, really enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine last year, and I guess 2 years ago now. Time flies. And I thought he had a really a real knack for directing action and making it feel energetic and lively and entertaining. And again, as somebody who doesn't know anything about Ghost Rider, I'm both trepidatious but excited about this casting. I think he can bring energy and he can bring a sense of momentum to a story through his directing, especially if there is plenty of action to be told within the story. Another thing this does indicate to me is he has done Deadpool and Wolverine. He has a Star Wars movie coming out next year with, well, you guessed it, Ryan Gosling. So this tells me that Disney is a big fan of this duo. It tells me that Ryan Gosling enjoys working with Sean Levy, and it tells me that Disney has true faith not only in Star Wars Starfighter, but in Sean Levy taking over Ghost Rider. Now, another thing to keep in mind about this 2028 release date is production has to begin relatively soon. My guess is February 2027, I think, is when they're going to start going into production on this thing, which also means they have a script. Now, whether it's a finished draft or an almost completed draft, there is a story for this film. I'm a little surprised that no details were given. It is very early days. But if this film is to come out in 2028, and I have to assume early to mid 2028 based off of something that we're going to talk about here in a second, this film is well underway in pre-production. So I'm a little bit, again, surprised that no story beats were given. I'm glad they weren't. Keep this film shrouded in secrecy as long as you possibly can. I'm just glad that Ryan Gosling is getting his shot at this character. This will make me revisit, visit the John Cusack Ghost Rider films for the very first time. And if there are comics I should read, let me know in the comments. I'm open to exploring this character. I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling. I think Sean Levy is a promising director. I'm very curious to know who's writing the script. That is one thing that is really hinging on my excitement for this film, is I'm desperate to know who's writing the script. I think, with no knowledge, I think we will find out a little bit more about this project at D23. Again, who knows? They announced it at San Diego Comic-Con. Maybe we get more information at D23. I could very well see that happening. Now, as the presentation moved on, they jumped into Avengers Doomsday, where a clip was shown. I didn't read the description of it because I want to know as little as possible about this film, but a clip for Doomsday was shown, and then Ryan Reynolds came on stage dressed as Deadpool, which all but confirms that he's going to be in Avengers Doomsday. Now, I assumed he would be. I feel like it's a no-brainer at this point. He's a well-established character. Audiences love him. I just kind of assumed this was going to happen. Now, whether they announced it prior to the release of Doomsday or not was still up in the air for me, but it's nice to have that confirmation that we will see Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool in some capacity in Avengers Doomsday. Now, the big finale of this presentation, again, if social media has steered me correctly, Kevin Feige comes on stage and does his trademark, "We have one more thing for you." And, well, it's not really that much of a surprise. I'm going to be honest. It's Black Panther 3. Ryan Coogler is coming back hot off the heels of his massive hit, Sinners. Plenty of Academy Awards to his name now, and if he didn't have them already, credibility here with your director. Black Panther 3 is coming, and that was big news in and of itself, but not really surprising. We knew it was coming at some point. December of 2028 is when this film will release, which is why I believe that Ghost Rider will be getting that either February or May slot that Marvel Studios likes to occupy usually. Now, they're not strangers to a July slot, and I could very well see Ghost Rider getting a July slot here. I do just think that May or February is going to be the more likely situation here. Based off the fact that they are not in production, I would put more money on that May slot, but who knows? It's still early days in that film's lifespan. We will see. But Black Panther 3 will come out in December of 2028. Again, Ryan Coogler is coming back to direct, and, well, we know who's playing T'Challa now. And it's not taking over the mantle of Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa, obviously. It is none other than Alien Romulus, The Long Walk's David Johnson. Now, I enjoyed Alien Romulus quite a bit. I thought he was very good in it. But where I really took note of him as an actor was, in fact, in The Long Walk, where he was staggering in that film. I thought he brought so much charisma and pain and emotion and depth to that character. He proved that he can be a leading man, and I'm glad that he has the opportunity here in Black Panther 3. It'll be interesting to see where this story goes based off of Wakanda Forever. I'm curious. I'm optimistic. I'm glad that Ryan Coogler is coming back. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for this one. Marvel has yet to really get me back on board after a tough few years. I did like their two films last year, Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, The First Steps, but I'm not fully back on board and ready to be excited for every project that they have coming out. That being said, I'm optimistic about the future. Clearly, there is some excitement. I am a little perplexed as to why they didn't talk a little bit more about Secret Wars next year. But again, maybe that's being left for D23. Who knows? I thought that based, again, off of social media, this seemed like a pretty good presentation. I like the news that they gave. I'm very excited for Ghost Rider now, which is something that if you had told me a few days ago, I'd be like, no, why would I be excited for that? But here I am. I'm excited. I'm ready. What did you think of the Marvel Hall H presentation at San Diego Comic-Con? Let me know in the comments down below what you thought. What was your favorite announcement? And as always, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.